What's up, y'all? Poet and educator Tim Staley here today. I'm just starting a new school year, and I thought I would share with you some strategies for surviving professional development and some things to do on your very first day of a language arts literature class. So, y'all, PD, professional development. Many of you are getting involved in a professional development scenario here before the school year starts. How do you survive it? I know I've been in decades of PD and I've had various mental outlooks toward those trainings. But here's what I do these last few years. This is a simple strategy that you can do and it's free. When you're in a PD, a professional development, some training that your administrator has asked you to go to, be thankful that no spiders are biting you. Be thankful that no snakes are actively inserting their fangs into you. Be thankful you're not on fire, like your skin on fire, literally. And also be thankful that you're not drowning to death in that moment. Once you are thankful for any one of those items, you can tolerate your Marzanos and all those buzzwords and acronyms that get foisted onto teachers. All right, y'all, so it's your first day. Woo, this is big for teachers. This is big for teachers. Teachers struggle with this first day. Some of the energies we bring to the classroom on our first day of school are not great. And I'm talking about that from experience. Instead of telling you exactly what I do on the first day, which I will at the end of this video, I'm going to tell you some things not to do on your very first day of your literature course. I would not talk the whole time. I would not talk the whole time. All right. Why? Why wouldn't you talk the whole time? Because most of your peers are talking the whole time. So shouldn't you be a little different? Shouldn't you differentiate your instruction from the instruction that's happening in every other classroom? So I would encourage you to be very careful about going bell to bell with your blabbing. Number two, you might be like, yo, Staley, I have to do my syllabus. Do ya? Do you have to do your syllabus on the very first day? Because in Southern New Mexico at my public school, we have a lot of shifting around with students that first week or two. A lot of kids that are in my room one day, not going to be there the next. There's a lot of schedule changes. So to spend the entire first day doing syllabus and reading all the line items on your syllabus, what does that do for the kid that joins your class tomorrow? Are you going to have to do it all again? So my advice would be to wait for the syllabus. And honestly, your syllabus is not your most exciting thing you got cooking. So why would you want to start there? Imagine a first date and you start with the syllabus of y'all's future relationship of the next year. Give me a break. All right. So also, I used to hand out syllabi on that first day. Half of them were left on the floor under the desks. So that didn't seem like a super great use of my time or the photocopies. All right, y'all. Last year on the first day, I was so excited and hyped up, and I brought some energy that was a little bit intense. And I had one student that would not stop talking when I was talking. I mean, I was just talking a little bit like, hey, I'm Mr. Staley. I'm so happy to see you. And she just was not stopping her conversation with her friend. And I'll admit, it threw a curveball for me. I was losing my marbles, and it really irritated me and made me not cool. And I don't know that I was super sweet to that girl that was talking over me that day. I wasn't patient with her. I wasn't sweet with her, and I felt like it was just a standoff. That's not really the kind of energy I like to get into that first day. Now, I mean, classroom management, that's not the nature of this video series. However, here's my takeaway from this. The student on your very first day that's presenting a discipline problem, I don't think that that's going to be your biggest discipline nightmare for the rest of the year. So I would just encourage you on that first day. Look, you got a lot of chemicals going on, like emotional brain chemicals. I'm not talking about drugs, just the feelings and the emotions and all that stuff that happens when you're in front of a room teaching for that first day. You're nervous. You got stuff flowing through you. And students do too. So I would just say, like, hey, it's not always your best foot that you're putting forward on that first day, and it might not always be the student's best foot that they're putting forward. And what happens on the first day is not necessarily a legitimate indicator as to what's going to go on the rest of the year in your language arts course. Another of my final little advice for what not to do on your first day of class when you're just meeting your students and that first impression, y'all, that's important. It's very important. Just like the first sentence of a novel is important, just like that first line of a poem is important, just like how somebody presents themselves on a first date is important. So I would not do what your peers are doing. Do the opposite of what your peers are doing. So go down your hallway, ask all your teacher buddies what they're doing on your first day, and then no offense to them, just do the opposite. Because don't you want to differentiate what you're up to in your class? Because you're up to something different this year. You're teaching literature as a poet would. You're teaching literature as a poet would, all right? And so the pedagogy that I'm being shown hasn't really caught up with that concept. And that's why you're coming to these videos. Thank you so much. All right, y'all, what do you do that first day? What do you do? Staley, you just said what you don't do. What do you do? All right, here's what you do, y'all. Just follow these instructions. On your first day, don't even say, you can say hi and wave and all that. But then you hand out some blank printer paper. Give each kid one blank piece of paper. Then hand out your bucket of crayons. Have each kid, I don't know how this marker got in there, but have each kid pick a crayon. Some kid's gonna get this one that's 1,000 different crayons melted together. But have them pick a crayon, any crayon, whatever crayon, one crayon. And then every kid's got a crayon, every kid's got a piece of paper. And you say, all right, y'all, I'm gonna give you one word instruction. I'm going to give you one word instruction. Don't ask any questions. I'm not going to answer them. I'm going to give you one word. Are you ready for the one word? And you're pretty dramatic about it. And you say, all right, here's the word. Scribble. And you don't say anything else. And they start scribbling. They immediately pick up that crayon and they scribble. They don't hesitate. They don't ask questions, believe it or not. And they scribble, and you don't have to tell them anything besides that one direction. And don't set a timer. This is not a timed activity. They'll put down the crayon when they're done. Trust me. So let the kids scribble until every kid has put down the crayon. Now, I'm not saying that this is super unstressful. Like, it's awkward, right? The students don't know you. You don't know them. You've just told them to scribble. What's going on? This is so weird. Hey, but that's part of it. This is all intentional. All right, so after everybody's done scribbling, you do talk a little bit. And the first thing you say is, man, I just observed y'all, and every one of y'all fearlessly created a piece of art. You didn't ask any questions. You didn't hesitate. You just fearlessly did it, and you made something. And not one of y'all's scribbles looks alike. And you congratulate them on their fearlessness. And you say that creative fearlessness is a concept that we are going to utilize throughout this language arts course. In other words, later in this course, I'm going to ask you to write with the same ferocity of fearlessness that you exhibited on that scribble day. I'm going to ask you to put words down in that same fearlessness. Because what you've probably noticed as a teacher of literature and a teacher of writing is that there's a lot of anxiety around this subject. And this anxiety is getting greater, especially when people can just use AI for writing now. There's even less reason why somebody would want to overcome their writing anxiety. And so what we're doing here is we're giving them confidence in their own ability to create, and that confidence that we're building on day one, that they're associating with you and your class, and the trust and the student relationship that's happening. And guess what? Every one of your students can scribble. They all know how to do that already. So you're not making any students uncomfortable that first day, which is important. And so that's cool. Now, the other thing you can do after that is you start looking at the different students, and you start pulling up to show the class some of the different student scribbles, and you make the distinction that how all of them are different. One student started up here. One student scribbled from the middle. One student did hard pushing on the crayon. One student did light pushing on the crayon. And you talk about all the variety and variation and individual creative decisions, micro decisions, and talk about, here's the connection. Talk about how the same type of decisions are the decisions that are used when composing poetry, essays, novels, short stories, nonfiction, whatever you want. So y'all, there you go. Thank you so much for being a fan of this channel. Please subscribe. But even if you don't subscribe, I don't really care. I used to say in these videos that I needed you to subscribe because I wanted to quit this job and live off YouTube. That was a little bit of a joke. That was a little bit of a joke. I'm just giving this to you. I don't need anything for you. I don't need anything for you besides for you to maybe like be original and teach as a poet would, instead of the super trad thing that frankly is not getting the traction. If you're doing the same thing that was done unto you in 2025, 2026, like what? How is that addressing your changing student body? Y'all have a great year. I hope y'all have a wonderful first day. Try scribbling.